Hey everyone, welcome back to Malaysia in Focus, the channel where we break down the stories that are really shaping our nation. When we talk about the fight against cancer, we usually picture hospitals and labs. But what if the most important battlefield isn't there at all? What if it's actually in our homes and in our daily habits? Today, we are diving deep into Malaysia's cancer crisis. And what the data tells us is pretty surprising. It turns out we have more power to change the outcome than you might think. This is more than just a health issue. It's a national challenge with a twist in the story that you need to hear. So first, let's just get a sense of the situation on the ground. The reality right now is pretty alarming. Let's start with just one number, 65%. That is the percentage of all cancer cases in Malaysia that are only found at stage 3 or stage 4. That is a massive problem because finding it that late makes treatment so much harder and it dramatically reduces a person's chance of survival. And the thing is, this problem isn't standing still, it's getting worse. The forecasts predict that cancer cases are on track to double by the year 2040. Right now, the lifetime risk for a Malaysian is already 1 in 8, and it's the third biggest killer in our country. This is a rising tide, and it's affecting more and more of our families every single year. So, what are the main players here? Which cancers are we actually talking about? Well, the data shows 5 main ones. Number 1 is breast cancer. That's followed very closely by colorectal and lung cancer. And then you've got nasopharynx and liver cancer rounding out the top 5. These are really the front lines in Malaysia's battle against this disease. Now, looking at all of this, it is easy to feel a bit, powerless, right? But that brings us to the most important question in this whole explainer. Faced with this huge crisis, how much of this do we actually have the power to change? And the answer, believe it or not, is actually quite a lot. And this is where the whole story kind of flips on its head. Because when researchers dug into all the data, they found something truly remarkable. Here is it, the number that changes everything. 22.2%. That is the percentage of cancers in Malaysia that are directly linked to things we can actually control. We're talking about almost 1 in every 4 cases. So this isn't just about bad luck or genetics. A huge part of this is about our lifestyle. So you hear this term, modifiable risk factors. It sounds a bit technical, I know, but the idea behind it is actually really simple. Just imagine the whole cancer problem is a giant pie. Well, these factors are the slice of the pie that we can actually control, the part that's connected to the choices we make every day. And this chart breaks it all down for us. Inside that preventable quarter, 2 things just jump out immediately. Tobacco smoking is by far the biggest one. And right behind it is excess weight. Now, being inactive and drinking alcohol play a role too, but it's pretty clear that smoking and weight are the 2 giants we really need to focus on. If this breakdown is giving you a clearer picture, hit like and subscribe so you'll always stay ahead on Malaysia's biggest issues. Okay, so let's zoom in a bit more on those 2 main drivers, tobacco and excess weight, and see why they've become such a huge issue for Malaysia specifically. You really can't overstate the impact of smoking. It's the number 1 driver of preventable cancers. I mean, to put it into perspective for you, a staggering 65%, that's nearly 2 out of every 3 lung cancer cases in Malaysia, are tied directly to tobacco. Now, let's talk about excess weight. This is where the research gets really, really surprising. A major study found something quite alarming, that Malaysia's cancer risk from being overweight doesn't really look like our neighbors in Asia. In fact, it's much, much closer to what you'd see in Western countries. And this chart makes that point crystal clear. Just look at this. You can see Malaysia's risk from excess weight is at 7%. That's actually higher than the UK's. Now, compare that to the average for other Asian nations, which is way down here, hovering at about 1%. We are a huge outlier in our own region. So why is this happening? Well, it's being directly fueled by our national obesity crisis. Today, 1 out of every 2 Malaysians is considered overweight or obese, giving us the unfortunate title of having the highest rate in all of Southeast Asia. Okay, so this brings up a really puzzling question. We've just seen that a huge chunk of our cancer problem is linked to these preventable lifestyle factors. So if we know what the risks are, why are we still catching it so late when it's the hardest to treat? Well, the answer seems to be a critical missing piece of the puzzle. A dangerous gap in public awareness about the actual warning signs of cancer. Let's just look at the hard numbers. Researchers tested people's knowledge of 11 common cancer symptoms. The average Malaysian, they could only identify about 5.5 of them. But compare that to people in high-income countries, on average, they recognize more than 8. That is a huge gap in basic knowledge. And this isn't just trivia. It has very real consequences. Because of that awareness gap, 1 in every 4 Malaysians couldn't identify one of the most classic warning signs of cancer, an unexplained lump. And when people don't know what to look for, they delay getting help. All right, so we've seen the problem, we've seen the lifestyle risks, and we've seen the awareness gap. So what do we do about it? What is the way forward? Well, the research points to a really clear 3-step strategy. First, we have to aggressively target the big 2, smoking and excess weight. Second, we have to launch campaigns to boost everyone's awareness of the key symptoms and risks so we can close that knowledge gap. And third, we need to empower individuals with things like accessible health screenings and real support to make lifestyle changes. Join Malaysians who want clarity, not confusion. Tap like, hit subscribe, and let's keep making sense of this together. At the end of the day, it all comes back to a very simple truth, and it's captured perfectly by the World Health Organization. The most effective, the most affordable, and the most sustainable way to control cancer is to stop it before it even starts. Prevention is our most powerful weapon. So here's the bottom line. The data shows that we have the power to prevent nearly 1 out of every 4 cancer cases in Malaysia, just by addressing our lifestyle choices. The science is clear. The only question left is, what will we do with that knowledge? Thanks for watching.